afternoon, everyone. This is Tony from Her Homestead Skills. So, yes, today I did stop by Costco and I checked on the sugar situation, and there seems to be plenty of sugar available at Costco. I've been told that there is a sugar shortage in some parts of Canada, but I haven't experienced it yet here. And fortunately, I have stocked up on all the sugar I'll probably need for the next year, maybe. So I'm good to go anyway for, normally you need sugar for all your Christmas baking, and I don't make an awful lot of desserts throughout the year, so I try not to. But once in a while, yeah, you need a sweet tooth and you need sugar. Prices are not getting any better, and yes, I did go to Costco specifically to pick up a few things that I needed. And for the very first time, I decided to try their gas station there. Now, Costco always sells gas at a few cents cheaper than the regular gas stations, but I've never frequented it because the Costco that I used to go to always had huge lineups for gas. So I think that in that particular neighborhood, it was probably the best price you could get, so people took advantage of it. Now I'm at a different location now, and it is fairly new, and it is not lined up to the point where you're sitting there waiting. I did get in a lineup, but it only took a few minutes to, perhaps about 3 minutes to get to the pumps, so that wasn't too bad. If I have to sit in a lineup miles long, not interested. I'll pay the extra money. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is this day and age. Time is also valuable, even if I am not working a 9-to-5 job anymore and don't have children that I'm chasing around. Time is still valuable, so it seems maybe it's even more valuable these days. Anyway, wanted to touch on the Hanukkah event that I went to last night. It was very heartwarming, and it was very well received. Quite a number of the participants, including Mark and I, were not of that particular faith, obviously, but they went there to support that community, and I have no issue with that. I think that any beleaguered community deserves our support, because one day it might be us. And they may go after one group today and another group tomorrow, and unfortunately there's always somebody looking to make a villain out of somebody. So yes, they seemed to be very high in spirits and didn't seem to have, from what I could tell, they had no interest in letting the situation disrupt their celebration, which was wonderful. We are also celebrating Christmas this time of year. Christians are, even though it doesn't seem to have the hoopla that I've seen in previous years. Doesn't seem to have the, I don't know, maybe it's just that I'm not going to the malls and I'm not hearing all the Christmas carols, because that is where you hear them. But as a child, I do remember very distinctly that we celebrated Christmas in a much different way than people do today. That may have had something to do with the monetary, economical situation that my family endured. And but what I do recall is that Christmas Eve was all about going to midnight mass. It was not about getting all excited about all the presents under the tree, because there were none. That's just not the way that it happened. There was a huge meal. I'll admit that in my mother's home, that poor woman would get up at 2 or 3 or 5, I don't know what time she got up in the morning, and she prepared a feast to feed an army. And that is exactly what would happen. Her own family members, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, parents, grandparents, all stopped into our home, and she had a feast laid out from noon, and noon was the big Christmas meal. It wasn't in the evening. And people dropped in and left all day long. If it wasn't one crowd that stopped in and had a meal and left, there was another crowd that would stop in, have a bite to eat, and they would leave. So it was all about the Christmas spirit and generosity and being a good host to all your guests. It was not about the gifts. Now, I wouldn't say that people didn't bring cheer of some form or another, whether it was desserts or whether it was a bottle of wine or whatever it is they would bring when they stopped by for a visit and a bite to eat. So there was give and take all the way around from all folks. So, but that's what I remember Christmas to be. It was never gifts. There were no gifts. Okay. And I don't think that we really suffered any loss. And quite honestly, I think that midnight mass to me was more important than the rest of it. And of course, seeing all your cousins. Seeing all your cousins when you're little was always loads of fun. Anyway, so the event, the Hanukkah event on last night that we went to was well received. People were courteous, they were kind, they were supportive, and I would say that most of them were probably from that community, but certainly not all. And no one disrupted anything. As a matter of fact, the rabbi told us that, yes, although that community has a very small amount of Jewish people, that he'd only moved there a year ago, maybe just over a year ago. But the community is growing, and he was happy to see that, and was quite happy at the reception that he has. He says that he's never heard an unkind word, and he obviously wore the garb. You knew what his religion was. And yes, they have a very distinctive dress. Probably not always, but perhaps when I'm sure the rabbis do always, but the regular folks perhaps don't always dress in distinctive clothing. But yes, they're distinctive. The Amish have distinctive clothing. Others, just about every group. And some might say that North Americans dress in a distinctive manner as well. But I see it through my eyes, and I think in North America we're very eclectic and dress whatever way we feel like. It could be very, there is no uniform, is what I'm getting at, although some might say that a suit is a uniform, and it is in a sense. Anyway, the event was very well received, and I'm glad I went, and I have no issue supporting a community that has never done me any harm, and never a harsh word from those people. So, no issue. They seem to celebrate their events, their Hanukkah events, at the same time as Christians celebrate Christmas, or very close to it. So we're all in a celebratory mood, which is good, because I think the new year is going to be very harsh on a lot of us. I know the housing market in Canada is dangerous. See, in Canada, we don't have 30-year mortgages, for one thing. You cannot write off mortgage interest payments. So we're taxed much higher. The cost of living is much higher. But yes, these mortgages, when you have a mortgage of $800,000, that is going to come up for renewal, and you were paying 2% interest on it. Now you have to pay 6, 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever the figure is going to be in the next year or two. Yeah, there is definitely a disaster looming within next year and the year after and the year after that, for sure. It'll take probably about 3 years to wash out, unless, of course, they come up with some plan, perhaps to extend mortgages, but ours are, even though they may be 25 years, they don't run for the 25 years. At best, you have a 5-year, and then it has to be renewed. So you don't get a fixed rate for 30 years. You get a fixed rate maximum for 5 years. And some people, 2 years are up. Other people have gone with, it depends on when their 5 years started. So yeah, they're going to start coming due next year. And we're going to see either a total collapse of the Canadian housing market, or a lot of people are going to be distressed. And our food banks are seeing numbers like they've never seen before. And that is where people would go to get food when they can't afford to buy it. They go to the food banks. And I understand that the food banks are busier than they've ever been. So it's not going to be an easy year. And so any holiday cheer that we can muster up right now and just put that worry aside until it's time to think about it, because that day will come. Unless somebody does something to change the rules so that societies don't collapse, we're going to see societies collapse. We have governments that are ignoring or not in tune with what people are suffering. They don't recognize that housing prices and food prices and gasoline prices, people cannot bear them. That many people were just living paycheck to paycheck, and the slightest unexpected change has caused drastic situations. So anyway, definitely time to enjoy the holidays while we can, and remember that we all suffer, we all hurt the same. I don't care who you are. Every person feels pain if they're struck, whether it's emotionally or physically. Everyone feels loss, whether it is of a loved one, which is something that I've had to deal with recently, or of material possessions. Now, somebody who's always had everything perhaps will feel that even greater. Others who've lost, perhaps even more than once, can ride that out a little bit more. I suspect that I could ride that out a little bit more, but who knows? I've been comfortable for the last little while. And the loss came, I accepted it, but there's always a trade-off. So if you hurt, remember that the next person hurts as well. So try to be kind. It's Christmas after all. This is Tony from Her Homestead Skills. Talk to you soon. Bye.